Because the thing that really, it's not that I want to tell everyone my story or nothing like that, and it's the point that the way I was treated, you know, in Grantry, I thought that was just terrible.
We'll start now then.
Right.
Right. Thing is fucking pissing on it. Like this. So Connor, how did drugs affect your life when the drug taking turned into an addiction?
Well, I've always would have took drugs for the last 10 to 11 years, and just this year now I've been clean. But in England, when I experienced it at the beginning, it was okay for the first couple of years, but then things got out of hand, and I did a lot of bad things, as in to do with gangs and street crime and stuff like that, and taking a lot more heavy drugs. It obviously all started off with a bit of grass, and then I started taking ecstasy, and ecstasy was the big problem really. I was taking ecstasy during the week, and I ended up messing up, not going to college when I was 16, and family issues, and I ended up stealing off my own family, and I ended up leaving then England to move to Derry, and everything was kind of okay then. And then what happened then was I got back involved in the drug scene again, and everything was okay.
Is that here or in England?
In England it started off, but because I fucked up over in England, because I messed up in England, I ended up coming back, you know, I had to get away from it all and I start fresh and stuff like that, so I came over here to my family over here.
When was that?
I'm over here now 7 years.
And you were living in England for all your life before?
Aye, Manchester, sorted, and I ended up coming back here, start fresh, and then what happened then was I was still kind of coming off drugs, but you know, it was grand because I was around new people and I was wary, so I wasn't taking them, and then obviously I got back involved in them then, and then it got out of hand with the cocaine, and I ended up stealing money off family members, etc., stuff like that, and doing a wee bit of crime, petty crime here, and went away, came back again, started fresh, and people forgiving me if it says that I would keep clean, etc. Ended up meeting a girl, she got pregnant to my first child, got myself a job when she found out she was pregnant, then we had another baby coming after the first one was born. Now during that time with that girl, I did dabble in a wee bit of drugs, but I thought it was under control, which I personally think that it was. You know, it was just recreational. Maybe we were drinking, etc., stuff like that. And then another baby come then, and things kind of got rocky and escalated between me and her. And then I ended up leaving my job then last year, and ended up splitting up with my girlfriend then. And then just at the beginning of January of this year, February, things kind of got a wee bit bad then. I ended up taking prescription drugs then, diazepams, which were cheap ones, and they just sent me cuckoo. So they did really, and you know, I was going to attempt suicide, went to the bridge twice, so did. You know, so that was a big problem there for me. It was especially the diazepams that really hit the nail on the head. So I have had times where I've taken drugs and everything's been okay, but then they've escalated that they are bad. But you know, they really hit rock bottom at some points, and that's what happens is my drug tolerance levels are very high, is that I can keep taking them and taking them and taking them, and then eventually I just crack with them. And I noticed that I always started off with wee small drugs and build myself up to take the worst drugs, because the ones that I'm taking are not doing no effect on me no more. So I'm trying to level them up, and that's why the diazepams was the big killer for me.
Does it get to the stage where your system just has enough?
Well, I remember not eating when I was here, when I was taking diazepams, and I remember, you know, being here but not here, if you know what I mean, while I was taking them. But a lot of my family members knew that something was kind of not right. One of my family members then went up to my ex-partner and asked, you know, was everything okay with Connor and stuff like that, because they noticed there was a change in me, and she mentioned that she did see a wee bit of a change in me, you know, and ended up spending a bit of time with my auntie then. And
What kind of change in you?
just my attitude, nasty, sneaky, begging for money, lying. Lying's a big killer. What the problem with drugs with me is lying. I'm lying to myself, but I'm lying to other people as well. Like, you know, obviously to get drugs or hide away that I'm going to take drugs, you know. But especially around March, April time of this year, it got really out of control, and I attempted to commit suicide twice by the bridge. But the only thing that stopped me was I had a wee BlackBerry phone that my cousin had given me, and I had the youngest boys as a screensaver, and I went to the bridge and I was ready to do it, and I unlocked the phone, and I think through my mind, I don't know what I was going to do, but I think through my mind that I was going to try and say bye-bye to someone or tell them where I was going, and I just see a wee man's face on the thing, and that's what stopped me, you know, made me walk back. So I treat him now as my wee guardian angel, you know, that saved me. But then I had a lot of help then when I come, people knew then, and a man that I know that's called Michael Stewart, he befriended me very, very well and kept me on the right track, come and see me every night, and got me onto the right path. So he did.
It's brilliant, eh?
Yeah.
We see now. I'll cut all this out too.
Just
That's very good there. So just going to ask you what your experiences of services are, and just with Grancher, what you said to me before. So Connor, could you tell me about your experiences of addiction services in Derry?
Well, the only one that I ever experienced would have been this year. Even in England, I never experienced them, so I can't really compare them to the way they are here. But the experience that I had here was, first of all, I had gone to my doctor a few times before the end of last year, when there was a drug problem going on, but I was kind of I was telling them that I couldn't sleep, but I was actually looking for sleeping tablets, and the doctor knew rightly probably what I was at, and you know, she probably experienced it before, and I was too young to give them to me, so, and probably I was looking to get them to sell them or exchange for other drugs as well. But when I had my whole thing with going to the bridge after that, Mickey Stewart, he says, go to your doctor and say that you want to declare yourself to go into a detox or Grancher. You need to go over there, because I was a risk to myself and I was a risk to my family members, because I was coming down off a lot of prescription drugs. I went over there. I went to my doctor's. Basically had to cry to my doctor to contact him to ask him would they bring me over. She did then ring him and ask was there any spaces. They did. They accepted me over. Went over there with my auntie, which was just kind of crazy. I thought my life was ending, but all I wanted off Grancher was somewhere, not to be in prison, but just somewhere where I was away from the rest of the world, and somewhere that I knew that I would be safe. That's all I wanted, and it wouldn't matter if it was a padded cell, you know. I just wanted to be safe, because there was demons running through my head. I just wanted to be safe. So I ended up going over there, and your woman was basically just, we don't do this and we don't do that, and it's self-inflicted drugs and stuff like this, and
They don't do what?
they don't look after people with drug problems. You know, it's more mental health issues in Grancher itself. And I was saying, well, I kind of do have mental health issues, because I have suicide thoughts running through my head. I have had. And I know if it continues, it's going to, you know, I could end up going to kill myself. And then I was with my auntie at that time. She, you know, the woman wasn't for taking me in. And Mickey Stewart rang me and says, how are you getting on? Are you in? And stuff like that. And I said, look, I cried. I says, Mickey, they're not even going to let me in. They just tell me to go back out in the street. And I had nowhere to go, because I fucked up with my family. My ex-partner couldn't trust me round her and the Waynes, so she didn't want me back anywhere near her. My dad had fallen out with me. My aunties couldn't trust me being in their house. So basically I was going back out in the street, or I was going back to associate party houses or sesh houses, which was not the place for me to go.
And were you on drugs when you went to Grancher?
No, I was dry turkey, but my whole immune system was just down the drain. I lost a lot of weight. I was pale looking, I was white looking. Then when I went over, Mickey says, right, I'll be over now straight away. So Mickey come over and come into the room, and fair play to him, he gave it. He said, look, this man here is going to be a problem to if he goes out. He's already admitted. And I had a razor blade in my pocket, and I just says to you, one, I just threw it out on the table. I says, look, you know what I mean, that's the point I'm coming to then now, is that, and just threw the razor blade across the table towards her, and she was kind of shocked. But anyway, they let me in, and they made it out, and I got in there, and there was a boy in there that I'd known locally. He was in there, and he come over and gave me a hug, and you know that made me really happy that I knew someone in there. Now there was a few people in there that were a wee bit crazy, that weren't on the same kind of level as me, but I felt safe. There were the nurses and all there were great that looked after me. They asked me did I want dinner and stuff like that, and they showed me my room, and they did a wrist assessment, and I rang my partner and told her that I loved her and I loved my wains and I'll be out soon and everything will be grand. And I just felt that when I woke up that day, I felt a lot fresher, and I felt that this is me now starting fresh. And I prayed that night before. I was given rosary beads and everything, and that night before I prayed away, I spoke to my ma on the phone, and she was crying, and I read stuff on Facebook, and people were asking, I hope you're going to get better and stuff like that. And I felt that people were starting to like me, and that people cared about me. And I met your man that I knew, and he was going in for his wee interview and stuff like that into the room, and they asked me to go in then, and there was must have been 5 or 6 nurses in there in the room, which was really, really intimidating. And the woman, I found her snobby. So I didn't.
Who was she?
I don't know who. She's one of the nurses or one of the doctors that were in charge of it. But I just found her like, oh, this is just some fucking dickhead here, or some boy off the street. A young boy doesn't know what's going on, and basically just says that we can't help you. This is not a drug addiction place here. And I was all, look, I'm suicidal. Are you suicidal at the minute? And I says, well, I'm not like suicidal at this moment in time. I says, because I feel safe here. I said, there's support here, as in that if something does go wrong and people can come and see me. I said, it does find a wee bit crazy because you're caged in. When you go out for a smoke, it's all fenced up and stuff like that. And it was a surreal experience for 24 hours that I experienced it. And they just says to me, well, we're releasing you. You can go. But Mickey had rang me just after he says that, and that made me back to where I felt when I was at my low point of taking drugs, that I've been let down again, and all that kind of thing. So that
angry at Grantia?
Oh, it's raising at them. I just thought that they didn't care about me, which why should they care about me? But I had a problem, and that I was a risk to myself. But Mickey had rang me anyway, bringing me over 20 fags, because he thought I was staying in for a few days, and that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted off him, was a few days off him, just to clear my head, talk to people, be safe in a safe environment, get my weight back up, get 3 meals a day, any kind of protein shakes I need to get my body back to normal, because I was in a bad place. They told me to go, and what they says was, you can either go to White Oaks or you can go to Hurt. And they says that you can ring White Oaks. They gave me the number and left me in the room. So I rang the White Oaks, and they says there was a long waiting list, blah blah blah. And he says, right, we have another organisation which is Hurt. But prior to that, before before I got the news of the doctor, I contacted D Quigley, and he says, well, I know Hurt, and I can book you in for an appointment with them. So he already had a book me appointment in for 2 days after, but I went into Grantia the night before. But I texted him that night that I got in there and says, look D, everything's sorted, I'm in Grantia, happy days, hopefully I'll come out now. And he texts back saying, good luck, I wish you all the best and stuff like that. But then I got back out and I rang Hurt, and I says, look, there was an appointment made for me by someone else to come in and see you about a drug problem. And they says, no problem, come you on up. So Mickey went in, and Mickey took me back to the house. I got shaved up, cleaned up, went over to Hurt then for an interview with them, and the woman turned around and says, Jesus, you have a fucked up life, after interviewing me for about an hour. And she basically didn't really mention nothing about Grantia. of what their service is and nothing like that, because they don't do nothing anyway. So there was not really for her to mention. But what I found bad of the place in Derry is that the only people that are looking to help the young ones, or ones even with drug problems, it has to be a voluntary based, team or group, like Hurt. They're voluntary, and they're the only ones that are going to help us, that are funded by local or lottery people. But you have a hospital over there that taxpayers' money's paying, and they just fuck us back out, which I don't think is fair at all.
So the only option you have is a voluntary service.
It's a voluntary, exactly.
The official NHS health service doesn't help you.
Didn't want nothing to do with me.
Do you think a detox centre would, even a crisis centre would have?
I think what people need here is, and that there is the argument is, would people go, but people will go if they need the help, and people will go if their life is really, like as I said, people do take drugs and can handle it. And there was points in my life where I did take drugs and I thought I was okay, and I still carried having a job, etc., stuff like that. But see, when it does get out of control, you need people there to help you, and Grancher definitely didn't help me. They definitely didn't, and I'll never have a good word to say about them again after what they did. And I have to give it to Hurt, but the problem with Hurt, it's only open from 9 to 5. That's the problem, and they only can take you by appointment base. What I needed there and then that day, I just needed someone just to lift me, take me away. I didn't want to be strapped up and injected and put on these heavy medications and not, be sedated or nothing. I just wanted somewhere where it was safe, environment, people that have been trained properly, with degrees or whatever, etc., and that could talk to me, and that you got your 3 meals a day, get your body back up to normal, etc. But they would only take people that had schizophrenic problems, or heard voices, but they didn't care about anyone that was prepared to jump himself off the bridge or hang himself by a rope.
In other words, if you want to throw yourself off the bridge in Derry, if you do it after 95, you've got nobody to help you.
Exactly. And that I'm not slagging Hurt. Hurt was a great, organisation, and they did help me. It helped me come clean again. But it was once for half an hour every day, or 45 minutes. I went up and did a bit of acupuncture with them, and at the weekends they stuck seeds in my ear. So they did, but there was what I wanted with Grancher, and it does it sound selfish if I say this when I want this and I want that, but I just wanted to be somewhere safe, locked away from the outside world, because you just go into Hurt, you walk in, you have to go to town, you have to make yourself, which is hard to do, get on a bus and walk into a place and sit and ask for an appointment, and then go up to a certain room then and get this done, and then once that's done, then you're not that you're told to go, but it's over. You have to handle the rest of that day then by yourself.
Well, that's very difficult.
It is difficult, but I managed to bear through it, thankfully, from family members, and Hurt themselves as well. But the problem with Hurt was that I wanted a counsellor, that I could, and Mickey was my counsellor, and I shared a lot of stuff with Michael that I've never shared with other people. That's because I felt very, very comfortable with him, basically because he's been through it, and he's a street guy, he knows what happens and stuff like that. But with Hurt, you just go in, you wee 45 minutes, you say it, and you're away again. But you had to be taking acupuncture for 2 to 3 weeks before you went and got a counsellor. Which is, I don't think it's a good thing. It's like you have to prove yourself.
That you're serious, that you're going to come back,
which is maybe fair enough. Maybe they don't want people messing about, etc. But there is certain people that need the help there and then, and that day that I got took out of Grancher and went and met your woman for an interview to get into Hurt, she sat with me for a good hour, and I released a lot more shit off my mind then, and that felt good. And that's all that some people ever really need, is not for acupuncture or seeds in their ear, or they just need to talk. They just need to talk, and they need a place to do that. And that's where a detox place here would be, or a crisis centre would be the place. Because even if it's a walk-in, walk-out basis, it's just if someone is having a bad experience. And I know there is people saying, well, they can go and take their drugs over the weekend and come in on a Monday and Tuesday. But would you not rather have that than them on a Monday or Tuesday going to jump the bridge after 5 o'clock? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Just the last question really is just could you just mention Andrew quickly?
Aye.
Right then, so I'll stop talking now then.
What was it?
Just that you knew him.
Well, and you know, I understand why this is partly being done because of a fella called Andrew Quigley that I knew very, very well for a family member. His uncle goes with one of the girls that I have a wing to. I spent a lot of time with Andrew. I know him quite well. Well, I did know him. God bless him. It was definitely, there was issues there. And now I spent my last time with Andrew was at a wedding there on New Year's Eve. Coming up now a year in December 2013. And sadly he killed himself long after that. You know, but I think if there was somewhere, Andrew did cry out for help. He really did, and he did have help. People did try and help him, but that wasn't good enough. You know, he needed somewhere to go. Doctors weren't good enough for him, because that's the same as, I think doctors the same as Grantshire. It's just that they're opening hours and they read stuff out of a book, or they take a prediction that they've learnt in a university degree and they judge you that way, and they release you again. But I think if there was somewhere for Andrew to go to detox his body and clear his mind, it could have been a different story. You know, definitely could have been a different story. And Andrew's not just the only victim that this has happened to. There were so many more, you know, that this has happened to. But, you know, Andrew especially, that I knew quite well. I knew him very well. Since the last 5 years, I've known Andrew from being in Derry. And sadly enough, I was glad that I spent, you know, a night with him on New Year's Eve, which was good. I know it wasn't a good year because this year he passed away, you know, but it was definitely a nice experience to spend with him. But if the help was there, it could have been a different story, definitely.
That was brilliant. Just now the last question, we're going to end it on a positive note.
Aye.
It's just the question is, do you see now getting clean as another shot on life?
Definitely. It's hard getting clean, and I can't say that I'll be clean for the rest of my life, because I know it's not like that. I know there may be a day in the future where I could end up taking drugs, but I don't want to take drugs. But I know there could be an opportunity where my mind could just go and say that I want to take drugs, and if that was the case, and that them demons do come back into my head, if there was maybe a detox place or a crisis place, you know, I can go in and speak to someone and ask them another alternative, maybe not to take them,